Right, so here we have created a repository that's going to allow us to interact with the database, start querying things from the database. So to use this, we're gonna go back to our service. This is where we had the hard-coded array, which we don't want to use anymore. Instead, we want to use this repository and fetch widgets from the database. So to do this, right, we're going to bring the repository in here. So this is the widget repository. And instead of instantiating ourselves widget repository, instead, right, we're going to ask the infrastructure to manage the lifecycle of this object. Right, this object is a very powerful object. Right, it needs to connect to a database. Hold references to these connections. Needs to log into the database. So it's a fairly complex object. We don't want to have to handle the lifecycle of this object. Instead, we're going to auto-wire. Auto-wire uses a design pattern called inversion of control, right? That tells the infrastructure, hey, infrastructure, you handle the life cycle for this. You know when to instantiate this and whatnot. Do this at boot time, right? Once you have a stable instance of this object, just provide me a reference to it here so I can use it in my class. Make sense, right? Once we have that, we can do things such as let's implement find all widgets, right? So we can say that find all widgets is going to be a widget repository. Now if we say dot, here we have a lot of functions that are implemented for us for free, right? We have find all. That sounds promising, right? It's going to find all instances of widgets. We can find a particular widget by ID. We can do delete by ID. We can do save, which allows you to do inserts and updates. All right, so let's use this find all. It's very generic. Notice that it's very generic. It's called find all. It's not called find all widgets. It's very generic, and also it returns something that is also generic, an iterable. Right. So we need to cast it down to list. So let's cast that. So this will be, I'll cast it to widget list. Okay. Now that we have that, let's play around with it. Let's see if this works. Widget service. We also want to use widget service in the controller. Right. Notice that we are handling the life cycle here. Let's auto-wire this as well, right? Because it contains something that's auto-wired. Right. So let's change this a little bit. We're going to change this to be a service. It is indeed a service, and it's going to be auto-wired here. Auto-wired. Right. Service. Okay, let's restart the server. Okay, now if we go back and try to hit this service, notice that at least now it comes back with an empty array. So there are no widgets. There are no widgets, right? Let's insert and create a couple widgets. Let's do that. If we go to a database and we go to our widgets, and when we run that, I'm using the wrong database. This is what is it? cs5610 _ sp20. There we go. We don't have any widgets. Yes? Instances. So let's implement a couple widgets. This will be of size 2. The title would be widget 1. The type, maybe it's a heading. Maybe it's a size 3. This is widget 2. And this is a paragraph. There we go. Let's apply. That's going to do an insert. We're going to say apply. All right, it's executed correctly, so it inserted it. So if we go back, right, we do a refresh. Notice that indeed we are getting back those widgets, right, from the database with the heading and the paragraph and the right titles. Right, so notice that we have replaced this hard-coded array, right, with instead records that are being retrieved from the database. Everybody okay?